What it is, it's Planet Tyrus. And I'm bringing you in my gravitational pull. I'm sure this is podcast 1.5 billion. I think everyone has a podcast. So what's going to make mine different? Well, besides me, I have built with my bare hands and my wit, which the frame does not necessarily suggest the wit. Usually you get one or the other. You get the big body and you trade it for a small brain. In my case, I had a big brain before I had a big body. So I lucked out. I was a smart aleck, book reading, library, bookworm, and all of a sudden genetics said, hey, let's match the brain with some brawn. So I got lucky in that way. But I get misjudged a lot. So one of the things I think attracts people, I am an attraction. But when I open my mouth, they're like, huh, I didn't expect you to sound that way. I'm a thinker. I'm a smart aleck. I'm always trying to solve problems. The biggest thing is I'm a big accountability guy. I've never blamed anyone for my circumstances. I always look before you walk into, like when you see a trap, like a mouse trap, for example, and you see the mouse in the trap, you want to think, oh, that horrible person put the mouse trap down to kill the mouse. I always think, what was the mouse doing right before he went in the trap? The choices he made before the snap is what led him to be undone, not the other person's actions. Life is about choices, and when you make a choice, you have to own it. So I think that's what makes me different. I like to talk about a lot of things, and let's just keep it real. Funny. So I crack jokes. I talk about life. I experience things, and I want to share them with the peoples. I am the uncrowned people's champion of Fox News. This is my show now on Planet Tyrus. So I'm going to limit how much you see me on the other shows, forcing you to come check me out. And we're going to talk about everything. Most of the things I want to talk about is life. And I'm not going to announce our guest yet because I'm very excited. But one of the biggest things in my life has been this pursuit of happiness, this pursuit of acceptance, the pursuit of getting to the top of the mountain and actually being able to smell the roses, and not why smelling the roses have to pull all the thorns out of my hands. And while I pull the thorns out of my hands, I slip on a rock and roll all the way down to the bottom of the mountain and then have to start over. Now, I'm a big proponent of celebrating your failures because all success grows from failures. The only time I've seen it is nepotism, and that usually doesn't work out anyways. But that's basically what our podcast is about. We're just going to talk about life, everyday things. We're not super political. We're not trying to convince you to vote elephant or vote donkey. We just want to talk and have ground lines and being able to get back to just having a conversation. Get back to be able to go to a bar and have a beer and not turn into political, religious, what gender you are arguments. Like, we need to get back to just being people again. You know, the bro code, wingmans, buddies, friendships. You can be friends and vote separately. You can be friends and worship separately. We used to do all these things. I'm Generation X. We had no choice. We all had to bond together because our parents were horrible. Not in a bad way. There was consequences when we were growing up. The consequences have changed. And now we're older now, and I kind of feel like a lot of this behaviors is Generation X's fault, because we grew up with very strict guidelines on how to survive. And then we got to adulthood and we decided we wanted to be our kids' friends instead of be like our parents. And then now we have a generation of tablet watching, cell phone rocking, unable to survive in the wilderness children who are now adults now. Like, that's amazing. When I was a kid, I knew how to make a fire. I had this thing called toadsmanship, where I knew how to play with an axe. I could build a fort. Me and my friends build forts all the time. We'd be outside all day. Never had to come home. If we were thirsty, we used the garden hose. If we wanted food, we packed a lunch, our own lunch. We did it ourselves. Now, if the battery gets dead, you got a kid on the floor kicking and screaming and crying. Like, what has happened to us? So this podcast, we're going to talk a lot about different things, a lot of things about what it is to be a, quote, alpha male, and dismissing things like toxic masculinity and all the woke stuff that was kind of dumped on our heads, and make laugh and jokes and tell fun stories. So that's basically a synopsis, big word, of what my podcast is going to be. We're just going to keep it real, tell it like it is, not how you want it to be. And I'm going to put my glasses on because I'm very excited about my next guest, and he's wearing his glasses. He's a brilliant man, so I want to pretend to be brilliant too, because there's a little bit of a theory out there that people who wear glasses, people think are smarter. It's like that thing with a British accent. Like in every movie, the scientist always has a British accent. I think it's completely unfair because one of my favorite scientists from Skinwalker Ranch, he has an Alabama accent. So I think it's not fair that the accents dictate how your intellect is weighed in the movie world and a lot of our stereotypes in this culture. But and one of the coolest names of all time, Gad Saad, a scholar at the Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of American Freedom, University of Mississippi. Sir, first of all, thank you for taking the time. And can I just say, I'm not a paper guy, but your bio, your list of accomplishments is impossible to memorize.
Well, thank you. You're very sweet. First, I want to congratulate you on your new show.
Oh, thank you.
To congratulate you on your weight loss. You were already very handsome, but now you're off the stratosphere. So congratulations on that, and hopefully we'll have a great conversation.
Yeah, well, that has a lot to do with one of the things. Well, first of all, I have to, like I said, you have over 75 scientific publications covering a wide range of disciplines, including marketing, consumer behavior, psychology, economics, evolutionary theory, which I'm very excited to talk to you about, medicine, bibliometrics. Not sure what that is. I thought it was something to do with the Bible and measurement, but I could be wrong. I'm not
the Bible, but I could tell you all about it.
Okay, cool. I am not a person who thinks he knows it all. That's one thing. I always want to learn new things. And then I wish I could stop there, but Dr. Saad holds a PhD, major in marketing, minors in cognitive studies and statistics, and an MS. Do you ever just take a weekend off? An MS from Cornell University, and an MBA specialization market, mini thesis operating research, and a BSc, I'm not even sure what that is, mathematics, computer science, both from McGill University, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So you're a world traveler, you're an extremely accomplished man, you're a professor, a doctor, a father. I have to flip. We had to have a front and back. You have a front and back. I've never had a guest. And one of the things that really intrigued me was truth about happiness. I want to talk about the 8 secrets when we get into it, because I think that's the one thing that I think selfishly could help me. I have a hard time with happiness. I'm always worried about what's next. So maybe you can help me with that. But before, take me back. All the things that you've accomplished, was that always your dream as a kid, or were you like, I want to be like a cop and a firefighter, and I just happened to become considered one of the smartest men on the planet?
Thank you for the kind words. I only had really 2 interests in life, very early in life. I was a very good soccer player, so I do share. While I don't share your physical stature, I'd like to think, the combination of brain and brawn.
Right.
In my case, I excelled in soccer. And so I always thought that I would pursue a professional soccer career. And then my other love was books. And so I always thought, even from a very young age, that eventually I would become a professor. My soccer career didn't go as far as I would have liked it to go. I had some very career-ending injuries, several injuries, which then kind of accelerated my going down the academic path. And so some of the stuff that you read from my bio stems from that long trajectory in academia. And today I'm just as excited as I was when I was a graduate student. Now I'm at Ole Miss, new adventure. So yeah, things are great.
Let me go back to, because I used to like books. I actually liked books more than movies when I was a kid, because I can control what the characters look like. And I could stop it whenever I wanted to, and I would get lost in it. I remember a lot of times when I'd be reading a book, I'd always get bopped in the back of the head by my mom, like, hey, I'm over here. Like, I've been talking to you for 5 minutes, but I was lost. One of my favorite books as a kid was Animal Farm. And I was obsessed with Boxer, right? Because, and as an adult, I went and read back again, trying to explain some things to my kids about politics. I kept getting in the book and they weren't interested in it. They said it was boring, and I was offended because I cried. Like, I remember, it's one of those things where you remember where you were on the day it happened. And I was sitting on my couch in a house in Betty Lou Lane, Southern California, screaming at the book, no, telling him, Boxer, get out of the cart. And, and I remember tears streaming down my face. And I was just like, how could he do that? And then I read it again as an adult. And I was like, man, how could I not have seen that? But his pursuit was happiness and belonging. And he believed in what he was doing. And he believed in the things in front of him. When you went through the experience, because I went through it with football, same thing, where an injury kind of slowed things down. And then I had to make some life choices and I went into substitute teaching. But, when you went through that period of time, was it an easy thing for you to accept when you're like, hey, my soccer career, or is it because you can also have what I like to call the golden ticket, where a lot of athletes who have aspirations, they get injured and that crutch, that golden ticket is their excuse for everything. Oh, I have a bad knee. Agent didn't like me. The coach me over. Like whatever it was. Did you experience that, or was it something where you're like just kind of? So some guys just go, hey, it's a wrap.
Before I answer that question, when you mentioned Animal Farm, I have to tell you, last year for my birthday, to show you what kind of book-loving family I belong to, my children and wife got me first editions of both 1984 and Animal Farm.
What?
Edition George Orwell.
That explains your happiness.
And by the way, whenever we travel, I will usually hide them underneath some, whatever, towels or something. And my wife will look at me and she'll say, if burglars come in, they're not going to be looking for your George Orwell book.
If I was a burglar and I saw it, I would 1,000% take it. I carry my Animal Farm book wherever I go. I carry it wherever I go. It's the weirdest connection, but I find it so. I love history because we always get caught up thinking we're the first to experience something. Like times have never been like this. Now go back to 1942. It's literally the same argument, and then like, oh, well, the division. And then, okay, watch Archie Bunker in the 70s, him and Meathead. It's the same argument. Like it's the same repetitive argument, but we always seem to get caught up in it.
Archie Bunker, I want to come back to your original question, but Archie Bunker is where I potentially might have learned a lot of my English, because I moved to Canada, Lebanon in 1975, and I think probably the number one show at the time was All in the Family.
Yes.
And so I really resonate with that show. I have great happy memories of watching those sitcoms. But to your earlier question, whenever the World Cup comes around, Tyrus, every 4 years is when it really cues all of the regret of what could have been. And, it really is it wasn't at all that I was, chasing fame or fortune. It's that and I'm sure you can, relate to this as also as an athlete, I just loved to play soccer, right? And I'm a performer. Perhaps that's one of the reasons why I've been able to, in my other career, build a large platform. I love to be in front of people. I love to interact with people. And on a soccer field, there's a canvas out there, and you go out there and you create magic within the limitations of that field. And so what I regret is I never got the opportunity to fully instantiate my potential. If you remember the movie Bronx Tale, there's a famous line that Robert De Niro's character always tells his son: there's nothing sadder than wasted talent.
Yes.
Well, I didn't waste my talent, but my talent didn't meet my destiny. I was a very skillful player, but it is what it is. But on the other hand, I now get to meet cool people like Tyrus. Maybe had I been a soccer player, that would have never happened. So you can't really regret things. Although one of the 8 secrets to the good life that I talk about in the book deals with regret. If you want, I could segue straight into that one.
Yeah, let's dive into this, because this, for me, life is peaks and valleys, ups and downs. And trying to find that moment of just enjoying the experience. I usually don't enjoy something until it's gone, if that makes any sense. Like it's like in the moment, I was worried about it going away. And then when it's gone, it's like, some time passes and I'm like, I remember that. That was the best time. But I never knew it was the best time when I was in it. I
hear you. So usually the way that at least psychologists, how we study regret, and actually the guy who pioneered this framework, this regret framework, was a former doctoral professor of mine when I was doing my PhD. His name is Tom Gilovich. And so he studied two types of regrets: regrets due to actions and regrets due to inaction. So, regret due to action, I regret that I cheated on my wife and that
Right.
resulted in my marriage ending. And I regret the action that I took. Regret due to inaction, well, I regret that I never pursued becoming an architect and I became a pediatrician because my dad was a pediatrician. And that's what he expected of me.
Right.
Well, when you look late in people's lives and you ask them what is the most looming regret in their life, it's usually the one due to inaction by many factors. And so it's the road that I did not take, but maybe I should have, is the one that really haunts me in terms of regretting. And so one of the prescriptions I have towards the end of that book is try to live a life that is as authentic to yourself as possible, right? Don't live the dream of your parents. Don't live the dream of, what your aunt expects, because you will wake up at 55 or 60 and say, I never wanted to go into accounting. Yes,
Right.
it was great. It was a great opportunity. There were tons of job demands for that, but life is short. If you don't do what you're passionate about, you will end up drowning in regret.
Now, with inactive and active regret. So one of the things is like when you've hurt somebody that counts on you and cares about you, whether it's cheating or just not being there or whatever the situation is, and you've hurt them and you regret hurting them, but the inactive part would be I didn't do enough to try to make it right. Like you look back and be like, I wish I would have said sorry. I wish I would have been more connective. When you do hurt somebody and you feel that regret and you are doing everything you can actively to try to make up for that regret and it's never going to be enough. And you finally say, I've, forgiveness has a lot to do with that. Like you forgive yourself, and then some people just can't forgive you. And forgiveness really isn't about the person; it's about you letting go of your mistake. I think that I don't know if that's right or not, but there's a point where you can just kind of look back and be like, I did all I can, and then move on. Right? There shouldn't be inactive, because if you did screw up, and men we screw up, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to eat all the crow. I'm going to take all the yellings. I'm going to, do all the things I need to do. And then it's never enough. At some point, you have to be active in moving on, right? Because if you stay inactive, then you're saying, I should have left. Like I should have, instead of being miserable, I should have left. I should have known that this is unattainable. And it's a tough thing with happiness, I think.
I do speak about, when you wrong someone, what are some steps that you can take to hopefully make things right.
Right.
And here I'll introduce some principles from. So I mean, people refer to me as someone who studies marketing, but it's a bit of a misnomer. Really, my area in my PhD was psychology of decision making, and subsequently I then applied evolutionary psychology to study human behavior. Right. So what are the biological underpinnings that make us be the consumers that we are, or the how do we choose mates, or how do we
Yeah.
choose cars and so on. But anyways, to come back to, because I'm saying this because I'm going to actually explain this issue using an evolutionary framework. So for example, when you apologize to someone, the apology has to be what's called a costly signal. And so let me explain what I mean by that. So if you look, for example, at the peacock's tail, okay?
Okay. Big fan.
The peacock's tail should, from an evolutionary perspective, it should not have evolved, because having a bigger tail
Slows you down.
slows you down. It makes you more conspicuous to predators, less likely to evade predators. And so, how could a trait evolve that reduces my survivability? Well, the answer to that is the second part of Darwin's theory of evolution, which is that if it confers a mating advantage to me, then it could be selected. So if I have this burdensome tail that is very costly, that handicaps me, and yet I'm still standing, this demonstrates that hopefully I have good genes, so shouldn't you pick me as a prospective mate? Now, how do I tie this back to what we're talking about? If you offer a apology to someone of the genre, I am sorry that you were hurt by it, that's not a costly signal. But if you say that I'm willing to sleep outside of our house for the next 600 years and freeze to death until hopefully you will one day forgive me for the indiscretion that I made, well, that is a costly signal. So one of the things that I talk about in the book is that for on your path to forgiveness, the gesture, the apology has to be costly. Otherwise, it's not an honest signal to your contriteness. So that, by the way, that's a really nice way of linking what we're talking about to my evolutionary work, meaning that even something as banal as an apology can be framed with an evolutionary biological perspective.
Well, the best thing about this is I don't have to take notes because it's recorded. So I can just watch this over and over again. I got to remember that for 600 years, I will sleep in the yard furniture.
By the way, that comes from a movie.
Yes.
And I don't remember the name of it, but it's I cite the exact dialogue where this. Do you remember the movies? Not the movie, the show Scrubs.
Yes.
Right. So not the black guy, the white guy. They're two best friends.
Yeah.
So the white guy plays in that movie. He's with this lovely woman. They're about to get married. His wife to be is expecting, and he has a indiscretion with another beautiful young woman. His wife to be finds out, and then when he goes to his future father-in-law and says, "Well, what can I do to make this up?" The guy answers him without using all of the fancy evolutionary biological terms.
Of course.
He basically says, whatever it takes. And so he ends up literally sleeping outside the house. And so for days, she would open the door, walk over him, and then go on with her day. It's night, it's morning, it's raining, it's freezing. He's still there. Well, after 1 week, 2 weeks, he must be honest because he is certainly showing contriteness. So it has to be costly. Otherwise, it's BS.
Where were you 10 years ago? Well, man, that's so true. It has to be a costly apology. Okay. When you are able to meet the cost of the apology in terms of where we're going, there has to be, is self-happiness more important than overall happiness? Like your family's happy, they're thriving, but the sacrifices that you're making for them to have it leaves you empty. Like, for a perfect example, I have to live in a hotel room 4 nights a week. So I never see my children, other than my wife a few days a week. And I've been on the road most of my life. But they have, and my daughter jumps horses and travels the world, and everyone has nice things, and even my children that don't live under my roof are all taken care of. Everybody's taken care of. Everybody is happy, but I don't get to participate in a lot of it. And when I am there, a lot of times I'm in the way. They're like, don't clap so loud. Don't do this. And you're just like, I'm so happy to fucking be here, but like, feel like I don't feel like as a man, it's different. I think their happiness is genetically or evolutionary. Your family's success is more important than your own. Is that correct? Or,
I mean, certainly we've evolved. There's actually a mechanism called kin selection that explains. So my survival is an integral part of my evolutionary drive, but why would I then jump into a river to save 3 of my children, even if that means that I'm going to die? Well, because really, I'm only a vehicle of my genes, right? I'm just exactly that, right? I mean, what evolution cares about is the propagation of my genes. So if I jump into the river and save 3 children of mine, each of whom on average shares 50% of their genes, from an evolutionary calculus, it makes perfect evolutionary sense that I would be willing to sacrifice myself to save this 3 packet of genes called my 3 children. So what you talked about right there is there is a mechanism. It's called kin selection. Now here's the interesting part. Why would I jump into the river to save Tyrus? He's not biologically related to me.
Yeah, because I would say if you have adopted kids, that might get kind of iffy.
Exactly. But here's the point. There we talk about what's called reciprocal altruism. So as a social species, so if you look at other primates that engage
chimps, I watch chimps all the time. I learn more about people's behavior by watching chimpanzees. I watch Chimp Empire. I'm fascinated by it because I
By the
watch them. I watch them connive. I watch them politicize. I watch them build friendships and fall in love and hate and argue. Like, and I'm like, we're like a hiccup apart. Like, it's very like it's. I watch it intently. People think I'm obsessed, but I'm like, no. That shows more about. That's more honesty in human behavior. Not everything, but a lot of it. Especially when you get more of 100 of them together. Same shit happens. They start attacking each other. It's so we mirror them so much.
a couple of points. Number one, I don't know if you know that Jane Goodall.
Yeah, I was I was sad. I loved
No.
her. I loved Fosse. Like Sir David Attenborough. Like, hey, can someone give him another 25 years? We're not ready yet. No one can do a voiceover like him. I get offended. And I don't want to bring politics in it, but Barack Obama recently did like a documentary, animal documentary, and I was like, this is no David Attenborough. Even though he was former president of the United States. I was like, but there's Goodall and Fosse. She was with the gorillas, and I always remember Digit. I remember crying over Digit because it cut his hand off, like photographic memory. But yeah, Jane Goodall. I remember in school with the projectors on the screen, asking the teacher if I could stay in at recess, and I loved recess, so I could watch some more of it. You know, like it was just. So when I heard her passing, I wanted to talk about it on the Gutfeld show, and they were looking at me like, "Why?" And I was like, "Do you not know what the work she has done?" Like, but it's kind of been lost, I guess.
Okay, I wanna tell you a couple of things about chimps.
Thank you.
So about reciprocal altruism. So there is something that not only chimps but other primates do, which is reciprocal grooming, right?
Yeah.
So I can't access the parasites and ticks that might be on my back. So I'm going to give you my back, and you will pick at those ticks and parasites with the expectation that once I'm done grooming you, you will reciprocate, right? And that builds alliances. It builds friendships.
But
and
it
so on.
also shows pecking order because a lot of the alpha males, when a lower sub will do that, and then they'll just be like, and it's always a cold ass brush off. It's always like, on to my day. And the guy's just kind of like, and if it's funny because if no one grooms him, they become depressed and they become more susceptible to disease.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some status signaling
Yes.
going on. But so remember I mentioned earlier kin selection. So
Yes.
reciprocal altruism stems from that reflex, which is since we are a social species, we benefit from reciprocal alliances. So for example, we're walking around ancestrally in the African savannah, and the biggest threat that we face, other than from predators and other people from our species that might kill us, is I want to make sure that I don't become someone's dinner, and I want to make sure to get dinner, right? Well, so meaning that caloric scarcity and caloric uncertainty was an endemic feature of our history. Well, what happens if I bring down a large game that otherwise my family, my kin, cannot eat it? How about I share it with Tyrus's family, even though they're not biologically related to me, with the expectation that in a future time period, you will reciprocate in kind.
Right.
And so there are very interesting evolutionary arguments as to why reciprocity would evolve. But now I want to really blow your mind with something about chimps. You ready?
Yep.
You're sitting down?
Yep. I'm sitting
Okay.
down. Let me put the leg up and let me get the hand. Okay. Here's my smart
Very
hook. All right.
So if you want to study the extent to which female promiscuity exists in a species, there is a particular anatomical part in the males of that species that you should look at. Which is what is it? Do you know?
Okay.
Right, so take for example many primates. There's bonobo.
Yes, bonobo, and then there's the two different species of chimps, and then
All
you
kinds
have
of
yeah.
So now I want to look at what is the rate of female promiscuity across all primates, including humans, and there is an anatomical feature.
Well, I know in the females it inflames.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
I'm asking for the male.
Oh, for the
Are you
male?
ready?
Yeah, let me hear it.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm saying chimps, so if you look, for example, at mountain gorillas, they are formidable creatures. They are the Tyruses of the primates, right? The
Yeah.
silverback gorilla. They have what's called polygynous mating systems, meaning it's one dominant male
Right.
that has monopoly over sexual access of many females. And there isn't recurring sperm competition, and I'm saying this as my 13-year-old son is sitting in the room with me,
Yes.
their testicles are very small because there is not enough sperm wars. Therefore,
Oh, because the
testes,
chimps with
there's no
the bigger
select.
set get more attention.
Now you see why I'm
Yes.
saying all this
Yes.
because
Yeah.
the
I was.
chimp, the chimps
We have
are
a female
walking.
EP, so I was kind of hoping that wasn't what it was, but this is the second show where she's been like, what does that mean? But yeah, I kind of figured who has the best low hanging fruit gets most of the
Hold
attention.
on. So the chimps are just walking testicles.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because females in chimp society are having sex nonstop. We fight, we have sex. We make up, we have sex. We want friendship, we have sex. There's sex all the time. Therefore,
Sounds like a
because of
marriage.
not
No. Hey, listen, I know chimp society, and also that's because the male chimps, if they don't know who the kids are, they won't be as aggressive because it could be theirs, couldn't be theirs. Because if it wasn't theirs, they'd murder it.
Paternity uncertainty, exactly. Now, do you know on that curve where do humans fit? Are they closer to the mountain gorillas
Nope.
or are they closer to the chimps?
They're closer to the chimps.
Very good. Look at you. You're an evolutionary psychologist already. Exactly. Now,
Can I get that on a piece of paper?
Here's another part. You ready?
Yes.
You ready? So it's a controversial theory, although there is quite a bit of evidence for it. This comes from a British physiologist who has since retired. His name is Robin Baker. He wrote a book about the mid-90s called Sperm Wars. And what he showed is that spermatozoa in humans come actually in three phenotypes. There's the standard one that we all know, sort of like the fertilizer. There's a head with a tail, and it's looking for the egg. But there are two other phenotypes of spermatozoa. One is called killer, which doesn't actually look for the egg to fertilize. It is looking for other men's sperm to kill in the reproductive tract of the women. And then there are what's called blockers that seek to block any incoming sperm. Now, when I tell this to my students, I ask the following question: how long is sperm viable in a woman's reproductive tract? Do you have any idea?
Isn't it like 14 hours?
About 72 hours.
Oh, okay.
That means that given that men across primates have pretty large testicles, and they've also evolved the chemical weaponry through these different phenotypes of spermatozoa to try to thwart the potential of other men's sperm within a 72-hour period, that
like they
means
build a wall.
Exactly. That means, evolutionarily speaking, your female ancestors and mine, whether they did it willfully or through, coercion or through rape, would have been very likely to have multiple partners within a 72-hour period. Now, when I lecture about this, and I know we don't want to get too political and ideological, but it's a point worth making. When I lecture about this exact point, I will get the feminists coming up to me saying things like, "Oh, Dr. Saad, we love you," because that particular finding, they find it as empowering with their feminist ideals, which is that women too can be promiscuous and so on. On the other hand, within the same lecture, if I say another clear evolutionary phenomenon that doesn't fit within their feminist ideology, I go from hero to Hitler very, very quickly.
Yes.
Right? So, for example, if I say, sure, men and women have evolved a penchant for sexual variety, but there is no culture where women have been found to exhibit greater desire for sexual variety than men, and here are the reasons, suddenly I become a sexist pig.
Right.
And
well, because, and then it's like, so society has put whenever a woman cheats, typically it's still the man's fault. So, like, a man cheats, he's a bastard. He has to apologize to her family, her friends, or the community. He usually has to go online with his head down and say, I messed up and I will sleep outside for 60 days and 60 nights until I make it right. When the woman cheats or gets caught doing something, the first thing she'll go is, it was your fault. You worked too much. You weren't listening to me. You were talking to your friends instead of talking to me. That's why it happened. So if you really think about it, it's your fault why I was with your brother, because your brother made time and you did not.
Yikes. Please tell me that's not coming from personal experience.
No, I just pulled that out of the air, but I apologize to the sound guy. Apparently he's going through some similar things, but you'll be fine, bro.
Can I share another really cool finding from evolutionary
Please
psychology?
do. Yes.
So this is from a colleague of mine, actually one of the pioneers of evolutionary psychology within human mating domain. His name is David Buss, professor at University of Texas, Austin. So they brought participants to the lab and they, hooked them up with all sorts of apparatus to measure their autonomic response to stress. Because if I just ask you on a scale of 1 to 7, how stressed are you? You could potentially modulate that. You could lie, right? Oh,
Right.
I'm not a jealous guy. It's only a 1.
Right.
But it's very, very hard to modulate autonomic responses like my heart beat going up, skin conductivity, my blood pressure going up. And so what they did is they made men and women read one of 2 scenarios or vignettes. Either one was emotional infidelity or it was sexual infidelity. So emotional infidelity would be
Like talking to somebody.
yeah, but we're building a emotional tie.
Right.
Your husband has this coworker. She really laughs as his jokes. They've really become very intimate in their friendship. She listens to his problems. So no sex. It's platonic,
Yes.
but a very strong emotional bond. Or the other vignette is, just a
Getting it
sexual.
on. Yeah.
Right. So guess what happens? Men will respond much more harshly to the sexual infidelity.
Yes, we will.
Women will respond, not that they're happy about the sexual infidelity, but they will respond much more adversely to the emotional infidelity.
Which I found out. Yes.
You found out.
Yes.
And by the way, there's a very clean, elegant, parsimonious evolutionary explanation. Men's greatest concern is, and you alluded to it earlier, is paternity uncertainty, right?
Right.
We're a biparental species. You and I don't want to be investing in Johnny till he's 18 years old to find out that
he's somebody else's kid. Yeah.
that's somebody's kid. Therefore, we've evolved the cognitive, emotional, and behavioral system to try to thwart that threat. On the other hand, there is no such thing as maternity uncertainty, but what there is the potential of my removing my long-term investment from our union. And the biggest precursor to my doing that is if I develop a strong emotional attachment with another woman. And this is why, by the way, Tyrus, and I think this will resonate because you obviously have life experience, when men cheat on their wives, usually when they try to placate them, maybe in a very inappropriate way, what's the first thing they'll say to their wives?
She meant nothing to me.
Exactly. She meant nothing to me. I don't remember her name. It was a one-time thing. So what the man's psychology is doing there is exactly trying to assuage the biggest threat that the woman will face, which is I'm not emotionally vested to her. Now,
Right.
of course, sometimes women will forgive that or not. But by the way, across cultures, if a woman cheats on a man, it's a 90% chance, so almost guaranteed, that it will dissolve the marriage.
Okay.
The other way around, it's only 30%. So when I ask, say, in a lecture,
Wait,
well,
30% they make it or 30% it's a wrap?
30% that it will break it.
Okay,
So
okay.
even when you cheat, and no, don't send Tyrus hate mail saying that bastard guy that he had.
No. They'd be calling me the bastard first because I'm agreeing with everything you're saying 1,000%. Like, no. We're good. Plus, let's be honest. This is a guy podcast. Let's just be real. We'll get a couple of the older ladies who have wisdom. Like that's my base, silver-haired foxes. They've already been through this stuff, so they'll understand.
That's why Greg always
that he gets mad.
I never understood what that was.
Yes, because he gets mad because the older women love me, they adore me, and he can't stand it because they don't like him. But I can break it down to him. It's not your fault. It's a genetic thing. They look at me as in breeding terms, and they look at you as like if someone broke in the house, they have to protect you and themselves. So it's clearly evolutionary. It's not personal.
You know why I love coming on Greg Gutfeld? So other than the potential of seeing you and him, it's one of the rare times when I'm actually taller than some other guy.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's even short laying down, and that's hard to do.
Although I was very, very happy when we didn't end up taking a picture together.
Yes.
I mean, because you're what, 6'8"?
Yeah.
God damn. Okay.
Yeah.
And how much, I may ask, how much weight have you lost?
147 pounds.
Is that, I mean, are you being facetious or real?
No, no, no. I was 440 pounds. And then, well, actually, I probably lost some. My last weigh in, now I weigh in with my clothes on. For a long time, whenever I weighed in, I had to strip down to everything because those shoes add 5 pounds and the underwear could add another 2.5. Because you're trying to convince yourself, that you're not a fat bastard. And the last time I weighed in, I was 308. It's the lightest I've been probably since my senior year in high school. I think I was like around 3.
Wow.
And what's crazy is I did it in the weirdest way, because they have all the shots now and they have all these things, and I will never judge anybody on what path they take to fix themselves because everybody's different. But for me, my fear was losing my alpha, my muscles, my look, and Ozempic and those things attack the muscle. So I was like, I'll lose all my muscle and I'll look like a bag of oatmeal. So that's not for me. So I decided, I reached out to a buddy about he made me a protein shake where he grounded up beef organs instead of whey. So all I'm eating is just basically powdered up steak and drink it. So I was doing that for 40 days and 40 nights and training, and I started boxing on the heavy bag again because it's just the movement. Train hard and then box, try to do 5 songs, which ends up like 15 minutes. And it just kind of just melted on. And I stopped weighing myself. I stopped paying attention. I gave up things that I didn't feel like evolutionary I needed. I don't need to breastfeed anymore. So I didn't need milk and cheese. And my wife was a big push me like, no more dairy. You don't, it just makes you heavy and you probably shouldn't. It's probably not good for you health wise anyways. So I just went to I ate nothing but steak and little vegetables. Probably need to eat more vegetables than I did, but it just kind of melted off. And I was like reminding myself, that's what I did to make the football team. That's what I did to make the WWE. The difference was I didn't have this time a carrot at the end or an award at the end, other than I will probably increase my life by 10 years so I get to spend more time with my children. So I guess that became the thing. But for me, I put Band-Aids on things. Bad relationship, instead of leaving the relationship, make emotional connections with strangers. That's a Band-Aid. Another Band-Aid is Taco Bell and McDonald's on the way home, then eat dinner. Like, because you feel good that moment you're eating, and then so those were my 2 things. Was that I would love the cheers from the fans because I wasn't getting cheers at home. So that was kind of like my thing that I fed off on, not realizing that those cheers from my fans would hurt my significant other or the person I was dating at the time or whatever my situation was. So wisdom is a beautiful thing. You don't know when it's coming because you don't know about it until you get it. But to have wisdom, you got to up a lot. Like you have to go, hey, I'm 50, I'm 400 pounds. How many 60-year-olds do I know that are 400 pounds? The answer, none. This is worse than peacocking. Because 1, nobody wants to breed with a 400-pound 50-year-old, number 1. And number 2, your heart's just going to tap. And I lost a lot of friends that I played ball with. And it was two things. It was like either they became really heavy or they became so ingrained in keeping the muscle that they were taking injections and things to stay jacked alpha male. But their heart obesity and giant muscles, it's the same stress on your heart. So I had to make choices.
What would be your final sort of...
My goal is to leave the 300 club. Right. I want to get down to about 275 pounds, but it's a process, and I only weigh myself once every 2 weeks now because I trust my diet. Like it's the religion now. Before I had to push myself, eat your shake. Now it's just part of who I am now, and it's one of those things where I think it was somebody said it takes the average person. I think it's 16 to 32 repetitions to break a habit. So with eating, it's like it's going to take at least 30 days of doing this to break a habit. And if you have I always hated cheat day. No. I have 10,000 cheat days behind me. I'm credited for cheat days. So I stopped doing cheat days. But it's a mindset. For me, it was like seeing one of my friends just suddenly be in a hospital, heart failure. By the time he got to the hospital, it was too late. 2 children and a wife, and he's gone at 45. And I was just like, that's not going to be me. So
Yeah,
it's a
I didn't lose as much as you did, but I also during the start of COVID, I went on a weight loss journey, and
we all should
probably
have been doing that, by the way. We should have all came back from COVID and all that jacked and shredded. All of
I,
us.
that's exactly what I did, by the way. I lost, so I got up, as you know, I'm not a tall guy, and I had gotten up. The heaviest I was 256. And now, when you probably saw me at on Greg's show, that was at probably my lightest. I'm now a bit heavier. Was 170. I never broke the 170 mark. I wanted to get in the 160s. I never did. And so for me, probably around 170 is the ideal weight. But I did exactly what you. I mean, I didn't do the shakes, but I would eat. So my wife, is basically turns into the Gestapo with her calorie counting. So
Yes, my wife does that too.
yeah, so we've got a calorie app where, she knows down to the last calorie. Okay, you're at 1452. So as she sees me sort of wandering to the kitchen to pick up something, she's like, whatever you're gonna take, you're gonna be over 1500. And
So it
so
better be a bottle of water.
exactly, or a cucumber.
Yeah.
And so that sort of accountability is what allowed me to do it. And it took about 18 months. And in my case, I think I lost from heaviest to lightest 86 pounds.
That's a
And
lot though.
a lot. That's a lot. Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to congratulate you to start the show, because I know the kind of consistent discipline and no cheat days that it takes to lose this kind of weight. So
And there's
hats
pressure
off.
too because you're also dealing with emotional state. And for me, for a long time, food was the hug.
Right.
Food was the grooming. Since we'll go back to the chimps, the only thing was picking my back was Taco Bell. And and then you realize that it's not. It's digging a grave for me. So it takes a lot of self-reflection, which is not easy to do. And even looking at a lot of things, like I made a big public apology to my wife just for like having to deal with me when I was heavy, having to deal with me when I needed to hear cheers all the time because I was unable to say, like, you don't ever say anything nice to me. You're never proud of me. You don't watch me on TV. And I would never say those things because I'm too proud. So having a stranger tell you, man, you're great, you're the best. And then like it's a Band-Aid, but it's also a Band-Aid that eventually turns into a head wound when you're sitting in divorce court. So it's such a intricate thing, happiness, to kind of. Are you at a point, like, because you literally wrote a book on this? And you're smiling, your kids are smiling, like even the books behind you are all glowing. Like it might be like Disneyland's pissed because they are no longer the happiest place on earth. I think it's just your little library here.
Very sweet. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, go ahead.
the way that I wrote that book, by the way, so let me tell you the backstory.
Which
of
I'll
that.
be picking up on Amazon as soon as we're done today.
Oh,
and
I'm
the next
so
time
glad.
I see you, I'm going to ask for an autograph.
Oh, you're very sweet.
Yeah.
So, I have a general sense of the types of things that I want to write about. I don't have a perfectly planned, trajectory, but, I wrote Parasitic Mind. Now I'm working on suicidal empathy. So how did this happiness book, it wasn't one that I had planned. It came actually from thousands of people writing to me saying, how is it that you always deal with these very difficult, thorny subjects, Islam and civil war and politics and religion, but you always seem to be smiling and you always seem to be happy. What's your secret? What's your secret? And so then I thought, okay, well, why don't I try to write the book on happiness with the 8 secrets to a good life? But I was a bit hesitant, because in your introduction you said, "Oh, I'm starting a podcast and I might be the 1.5 billionth guy to do a podcast." Well, guess what? The ancient Greeks have written a lot about happiness and about the good life. And so my concern was, can I actually write a book that is truly fresh, distinct, unique? And I'd like to think yes. So what I did in tackling the book, I said, okay, well, let me take my secrets to happiness, what makes me happy, and then bring in the ancient wisdoms, couple it with the latest contemporary science, in psychology of happiness and positive psychology and so on, and put it all together. And hopefully I've got a good book
Well,
to read.
I cannot wait to read it. Where can we get it? Of course, it's got to be on Amazon.
It is on Amazon. So yeah, get it. Let me know.
Do you have a? Can you hold it up? Can we get a? We are being filmed.
I don't have a
All
copy.
those books behind you and not one. When is it out?
Actually, just for you to know, just to be full disclosure, Although my personal library is just as impressive as this
I
one,
bet it has a lot of leather bound books.
there are a lot of those. This is actually the office of a colleague of mine at Ole Miss. So whatever books
Edit
we
that
need
out. This guy's 100% legit. We'll protect you. But see, happiness is you don't lie when you're happy.
I don't have to lie. I am very comfortable in my skin. By the way, the ancient Greeks said, "Know thyself," right? And one of
Right.
the reasons why I'm able to, walk into any room, not worried about what's going to happen or any consequences, because I know what I know. I know what I don't know. There are no curveballs that you could throw at me that I can't handle. If I don't know an answer to the question, I'll just say, "Hey, Tyrus, that's a great question, but it's above my pay grade, man. I don't know how it." And by the way, that honesty builds trust with the audience. So imagine I'm lecturing 20-year-old undergrads and they ask me a question and I go, "Wow, that's a great question. I don't know the answer. Let me get back to you and email it to you." Well, now I've just signaled to them that I'm not going to wing it, right? I'm not the professor who knows everything and therefore any question you're going to ask me, even if I don't know the answer, I'll BS you. No. And so because of that, I'm comfortable in my skin, as I think you are. And
Yeah, because I was the first one to say nothing annoys me. A know-it-all doesn't know shit.
exactly,
They know a bunch of paragraphs, and
exactly.
they're mimics, and that's why they're a know-it-all. Because I think that's one of the most insecurities in people, especially on TV, to where you never hear somebody on. Now I've done it. Like I did it in the middle of this thing. Like I don't know what this word means, or I'll be like, I that's above my pay grade. I'm not versed in that, so I probably shouldn't speak on that. And when I say that, the crowd will be like, yes, and then I'll hear someone be like, well, actually, and then they're trying to reprocess a talking point from something they read in a sheet earlier, and you're a parrot. You're not a genius, or you're a parasite.
I don't know if we're going to talk about the parasitic
Yeah,
mind,
but
but maybe
let's talk about parasitic mind real quick before I get you out of here.
sure. So the parasitic mind basically, so in the animal kingdom, there is the field of parasitology,
Yes.
which is study of hosts and parasites and how they interact. So a tapeworm is a parasite that parasitizes your intestinal tract. Okay.
Right.
But a neuroparasite is one that ends up in the host's brain.
Like with ants, we'll see in the Amazon.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And so it alters the neuronal circuitry of the parasitized animal to suit the interest of the parasite. So, for example, a wood cricket abhors water, but when it is parasitized by a hairworm, the hairworm needs the wood cricket to jump into the water, commit suicide, so that it could complete its reproductive cycle. And so, when I discovered this field of neuroparasitology, that was sort of my epiphany. I said, aha, I will now use this framework to argue that human beings can not only be parasitized by actual physical brainworms, they could be parasitized by ideological brainworms.
Which we see today.
Which we see today. So hence the parasitic mind, or the woke mind virus, all that stuff, that comes from applying the neuroparasitological framework to ideological capture. And the reason why I wrote the book is because having spent, this is my 32nd year as a professor.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I saw how otherwise supposedly intelligent people with all sorts of degrees before or after their names were some of the biggest morons that one could imagine, right? I mean, how could it be that you deny the forces of biology and
Right.
understanding human behavior? What do you think? We exist outside of our biology? And so very early in my academic career, when I started seeing the obstacles that fellow social scientists were erecting whenever I would say, well, I want to apply evolutionary biology to study economic behavior or consumer behavior, they were like, what are you talking about? You should be in a zoology department. This is the business school, man. And so that's the genesis of how. So in a sense, I started writing The Parasitic Mind straight out of my PhD, seeing all of the idiots called fellow professors. And so what I do in the book is I highlight what some of these parasitic ideas are. And then towards the end of the book, hopefully I offer an effective mind vaccine against that stupidity.
Well, that's I watched. I think it was Planet Earth, where I started because they dumb it down to zombies. Like you basically, the ant becomes a zombie and climbs up the highest tree away from and then it sprouts, and then there seems to be one for every species. With the design to be, that's how you keep. You wonder why army ants don't take over the entire jungle, because there's factors in place to keep them in line.
Right.
So I guess if you were going to connect that, let me see if I can try this. If you were going to connect that to today, if everyone is of one mind, it's a lot easier to control. Sheep, basically like when you hear a group of people, and you'll see it a lot of times, like when protests, and again, I'm not trying to get in politics, but when a protester who's holding up these signs, fascism or whatever it is, and then an interviewer goes to him and says, well, what does it mean? They never have an answer. Like, well, I'm glad you asked. Well, first of all, it depends on which period you're talking about. But in terms of this political thing, it's because of this policy, and he's doing this, and I find this. And you'd be like, wow, okay, this guy might have a point here. But it's like, he is.
They're zombified.
Yeah, he is.
Yep.
And if you don't believe it, you're racist, or you're a problem. You're a parasite. You're trying to infect me, and it's not going to happen here today, bro. So it's and that's another, and that book's out as well. So I have two books now I got to pick up. So the next time we talk, I will be prepared.
Thank you, sir. I am so excited for your show. I can't watch to see which future guests you'll have on. Continue.
Well, I know a guest I'm hoping having on a lot, and his name starts with a G. So because I have I've learned a lot. Like this, I've learned a lot.
Greg or Gad Saad?
Gad Saad. No, Greg. I don't have the seat cushions for him. But I learned a lot today about myself, especially in terms of the feelings thing. I never really thought of it that way because, I always think like as long as you didn't, you're good, it's just a conversation. But the other side, the feelings to them is more powerful than if you would have had just a blink, Either way, it's bad. Like, don't split the diff. Like, don't do either one. But I'm just saying, know what? I'm going to stop there. I'm just going to stop there, right? Because I'm going to dig a hole I can't get myself out of. So, man, thank you so much, sir, for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure.
I can't wait to see you in New York, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. And hopefully we'll see you back on Gutfeld soon. I'll actually, when I go in today, be like, yo, when we get in Saad back, this is ridiculous.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. All right. So, again, this is the first inaugural launch of Planet Tyrus. And I have a special segment where my wife comes on and adds a secret ingredient to help me with my success. But just so you know how legit and how real this segment is rain, sleet, or divorce court, she will do this segment. And just so you know, we're not in the best spot right now. So I don't know how this is going to go. This could be an epitaph of cuss words, and that it could be loving, but fat chance of that at this moment. But the point is like, I don't know what's going to happen. That's why it's a secret ingredient with my wife, Ingrid. So there's no reason to prolong this. Here we go. Hello, honey. It's me. And I'm getting ready to start my podcast. We're getting ready to launch the podcast. And I was hoping you could give me some tips.
Be personal. I told you years ago when you were still kind of being a character, like in wrestling, when you first started at Fox, you were still a character. And you didn't let people know about your life. You didn't share anything about yourself. And when you did, when your first book came out, America fell in love with you. And you opened up yourself, and I always tell you that nobody's perfect. People like the fact that you're not perfect. I mean, not me, but other people. And I think that sharing a little bit more of yourself and being the guinea pig of sorts that some of these experts get to like work with during that hour, 2 hours, I think would be really interesting.
And then should I have a catchphrase?
Yes.
Okay. What should my catchphrase, what word would, oh man, I'm really over myself for this one. What word would best describe me?
Ego.
Ego. Is that a compliment? Switch guys? No, it's not. So, well, ego. Till next week.
I'll think of something.
Okay, so
you.
By the next time we meet, you'll have a catchphrase for me.
I mean, if you haven't thought of one yourself, yeah.
Right. Okay. And then, all right. So, real quick, while I got you here, can we talk a little bit about Tyrus Live? How's it going?
Tyrus Live is going great. I think we're in our 4th year. I probably should know that, but days just kind of run into each other. But I think it's our 4th year. We go back to the same cities every year. Obviously, we add new cities along the route, but I think it's really amazing that these cities want us back every year. And they enjoy that we come to a lot of really smaller towns outside the big cities, and that you're bringing fun for a night. It's not a political rant. It's not mean. It's just a fun night of comedy, and people need that. Everyone needs to laugh all the time. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. You need to laugh.
Okay. In the beginning of Tyrus Live, one of the cool things about the show was that my wife opened for me, where you basically roasted me for about 9 minutes before I came out. And then our daughter started jumping, and you really don't like traveling the road, do you?
Not at all.
Do you think there'll ever be a time where you would get back and do an opening for Tyrus Live? Because a lot of fans ask about it.
Probably not. I'm not cut out for life on the road. I don't eat restaurant food. I don't like detergents in my sheets. I'm a creature of habit. I am like autistic, ADD, OCD. I am every TISM and DD that you have. And so it's not meant for me. Did you tell everybody that I'm not talking to you right now?
No, I was pretty upset. So I was, but you know what? It's not about us right now. It's about the show. But even though, as much as I guess we could say, don't like each other right now, you showed up. Thank you for that. It's not easy. And I'll just put an asterisk by what you like about me. Other than the fact that I turn in my paychecks on time, we'll go with that for right now. Thank you for that. Thank you for doing this today.
I think you're going to do great. I know you're going to do great. A lot of people are very interested in what you have to say. That's why they come to the comedy shows, because on television, they only get to hear you for 3 or 4 minutes at a time. There's often people, everyone interrupts each other. Everyone's got to get stuff in very quickly. It's live television most of the time. And so when people actually get to hear you for a whole hour, like the comedy shows, for instance, or they get to read your books where it's just you speaking, I think they fall in love with you, like very much the same way that I have. So I think it's going to be great. I think you just ask your questions, let people talk, and do your thing.
For the record, that was a sidebar. I love you. Is that correct? Did everyone hear that?
No, I don't actually love you right at this moment.
Okay.
But
good enough.
Okay.
If I have to sleep outside for 600 years, so be it.
Okay, you might have to.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.